Charles Bronson's public image was one of pure, unadulterated toughness. He was the hero who never backed down, the man who solved problems with his fists. But the real man was a complete contradiction to this screen persona. He was born Charles Buczynski, the 11th child in a poor Lithuanian-American family in Pennsylvania. He grew up in such deep poverty that he reportedly didn't even own a pair of shoes until he was a teenager. This harsh beginning shaped him in profound ways. Before he was an actor, he worked down in the coal mines. It was backbreaking, dangerous work that taught him about survival and silence. Men in that environment didn't talk about their feelings. They endured. This created a man who was naturally reserved and deeply private. He learned to keep his true self locked away, a habit that would define his entire life, both on and off the screen. The tough guy wasn't just an act, it was a shield. When he eventually made his way to Hollywood, he found a world just as brutal as the mines, but in a different way. The studio system of old Hollywood was a glittering facade. It was built on secrets and lies. Studio publicists worked tirelessly to craft perfect images for their stars. For an actor like Bronson, with his unique, rugged look, the image was clear: he was to be the strong, silent, heterosexual leading man. Any deviation from that could have ended his career before it even began. This is the pressure cooker Bronson stepped into. He was a complex man, an intellectual who loved painting and was deeply sensitive. But the studios only saw his face. They saw the muscles and the brooding glare. They marketed him as the ultimate man's man. To survive in this world, he had to play the part. He had to amplify the very traits that hid his true nature. The quiet, sensitive artist had to disappear, and the action hero had to take his place. But in the shadows of Hollywood, a different life was possible. There was a whole underground world where gay and bisexual actors could connect. They used secret signals and codes. They attended private parties held behind closed doors in the homes of powerful stars and directors. In these safe spaces, the public masks could finally come off. It was in this hidden world that Charles Bronson found the freedom to explore his true self and form connections that would have shocked his public. The first of his secret loves was a fellow actor also known for his tough guy roles. This man, a star in his own right, was deeply closeted, living in constant fear of exposure. Their connection was instant. They recognized the same silent struggle in each other's eyes. They were both playing a role for the camera, and they found solace in the fact that they didn't have to pretend with one another. It was a relationship built on mutual understanding and shared secrecy. Their meetings had to be meticulously planned. They would often meet late at night in remote locations. A private beach house in Malibu or a secluded cabin in the hills became their sanctuary. They couldn't be seen together in public too often, so their romance lived in the stolen moments between films. It was a passionate but heartbreaking connection, always overshadowed by the fear of being discovered by the press or the studio executives. The second significant relationship was with a popular leading man known for his charming and boyish persona. This actor was the opposite of Bronson's public image. He was light where Bronson was dark, talkative where Bronson was silent. This difference was the very source of their attraction. They provided an escape for each other from the rigid boxes Hollywood had put them in. For Bronson, it was a chance to be with someone who wasn't afraid of emotion. This relationship was even more dangerous because of the other actor's high-profile dating life with famous actresses. The public believed he was a confirmed ladies' man. This provided perfect cover, but it also added a layer of pain for Bronson. He had to watch the man he loved be romantically linked with women in every magazine. He had to sit silently while the world celebrated a lie, knowing that the truth was their private, hidden love. The psychological toll on Bronson was immense. Living a double life creates a constant, low hum of anxiety. He became known on set for being difficult and withdrawn. While some saw this as ego, it was more likely a defense mechanism. By pushing people away, he protected his most vulnerable secret. The gruff exterior wasn't just for the movies, it was a wall to keep the world from getting too close and seeing the man he really was inside. He channeled all this inner turmoil into his acting. If you watch his performances closely, you can see a deep, simmering sadness behind his eyes. The rage his characters often displayed wasn't just acting, it was the frustration of a man who could not be his authentic self. Every punch thrown on screen was a release for the real-life pain he had to keep locked away. His art became the only outlet for his truth. Despite the secrecy, there were slip-ups. There were rumors whispered on soundstages. Certain photographers claimed to have seen Bronson and his male co-stars in situations that suggested more than friendship. But in that era, the press often had an unspoken agreement with the studios. They would suppress stories that could destroy a star's career, especially if that star was a major moneymaker. Bronson's box office power ultimately protected him. As the years passed, the pressure never really went away. Charles Bronson married actress Jill Ireland and stayed with her until her tragic death from cancer. Their relationship was presented to the world as a great Hollywood love story, and there is no doubt he cared for her deeply. But for a man with Bronson's secret life, marriage could also serve as the ultimate shield. It was the perfect cover, a way to permanently silence the nagging rumors and solidify his public image as a straight man. Those who were part of Bronson's inner circle knew a different man from the public persona. They described him as surprisingly gentle, a loving father, and a loyal friend. He was a talented painter who found peace in art. This private Bronson was the real Charles, the man who was forced to hide behind the character of Charles Bronson, the action star. The dichotomy between his inner self and his public image was a source of lifelong tension. The death of his wife, Jill, devastated him. He withdrew from public life almost completely. While this was certainly due to grief, it was also the final retreat of a man who was tired of performing. He no longer had the energy to maintain the facade. In his final years, he lived a life of near total isolation, surrounded only by his immediate family and his art. It was a quiet, sad end for a man who had lived so much of his life in the shadows. So why are we only hearing about this now? For decades, the story was protected by a code of silence. The other actors involved took their secrets to the grave. The studio executives who knew are long gone. The few journalists who had the story were discouraged from printing it. It is only now, with a modern perspective and a re-examination of Hollywood history, that these hidden narratives are finally coming to light. We can now look back and see the clues that were always there. The evidence is found in the patterns. It's in the testimony of brave individuals from the edges of his life, a personal assistant, a fellow artist, an old friend from his early days in New York. They all tell a consistent story of a man who was deeply conflicted about his identity. It's in the way he fiercely protected his privacy, going to extreme lengths to keep the press away from his personal life. He wasn't just a private man, he was a man with something profound to hide. Let's consider the impact on his career. Charles Bronson became an international megastar, especially in Europe. Perhaps it was easier for him to be himself when he was away from the Hollywood glare. There are stories of him being more relaxed and open in Paris and Rome, frequenting galleries and cafes with male companions in a way he never would have dared to in Los Angeles. Europe offered him a taste of the freedom he was denied at home. This revelation completely changes how we view his iconic films. Movies like Death Wish and The Great Escape are seen as classics of masculine cinema. But knowing what we know now, we can see a deeper layer. His characters are often loners, outsiders who operate outside the rules of society. They are men who have been deeply hurt and who express themselves through action rather than words. This wasn't just a character type, it was a reflection of Bronson's own soul. His story is not unique in old Hollywood. He was one of many. There were countless actors, both male and female, who were forced to live a lie. They entered into lavender marriages, they hid their true loves, and they sacrificed their personal happiness for their careers. They created the magical illusion of Hollywood, but they paid for it with their authenticity. Bronson's story is a powerful symbol of that collective sacrifice. What is the cost of living such a life? For Charles Bronson, the cost was a deep-seated loneliness that never left him. He had all the fame and fortune a person could want, but he could never truly be known. He could never openly love the people he was drawn to. He had to constantly edit his own life, his own story, and his own heart. That is a heavy burden for any human being to carry. By telling this story today, we are not trying to tarnish his legacy. In fact, we are doing the opposite. We are trying to complete it.